Hello, Kelly here with Kelly Soroka Life, and it is Monday, April 14th, and we are on day 17 of our Spring Magic Challenge with the Aries new moon. So we've been through the new moon, first quarter moon, and we just experienced the full moon this weekend, the full moon in Libra, and it was a very beautiful. I did a nice ceremony. I have my altar set up on my desk over here that is going to carry me through the rest of this moon cycle with this Aries and Libra energy. The Aries, the Libra energy kind of taking over and balancing out the Aries, and they're going to kind of play with each other the rest of this moon cycle. And now it's a time of evaluating, a time of introspection, a time when the moon is waning, and it's a time to maybe cleanse and clear anything that has come up during this moon cycle from your intention that you want to let go of, and or you just reevaluate. And that's one of the things that I'm doing. My intention for this moon cycle was to do some cleaning and some decluttering in lots of different places in my house. And some have done, and I'm very happy with, and some have not. I haven't gotten as much progress as I really wanted, but I still have, you know, several more days that I can work on this intention and get to the things that I still want to do for this intention. And as probably the day of the last quarter moon, I'll probably back at my intention because I have all my intentions in the workbook here. And I have on the second page, the intention, my mind map intention for this lunar cycle. So these are the things that I wanted to do. It's like I said, some of them I have really worked on and they've been really fun, and some of them have been I've gotten it done, and it hasn't been the most fun thing in the world, but I've gotten it done, and I'm very happy with it. So, and I'm just going to say, take it as a win and move on. But probably at the time of the last quarter moon in a few more days, I'm going to look at the things that I've done, check them off the list, look at the things that I haven't done, and really evaluate whether it's something that needs to be done right now that I want to try to get done in the next few days, schedule for it, or it's something that I want to just say, I didn't get this done and I just don't have time for it right now, and I want to move on because I'm in the rest of this month is going to be a really busy month, and next month is going to be a very busy month as well. So I just want to think, what are the things that I can do in this time period? Because I know this is kind of a discrete time period that I'm going to only have time for a certain number of things. And then in June, things will, my schedule will be a lot lighter, and it might be that I want to just put it on my in my journal and say, these are the things that I didn't get done. These are the things that I want to do later in the year, and maybe even next fall, or maybe even next winter, when the weather is not as good anymore. Or, there may be some that I'm just like, I'm just not going to, this is just not important. This is just not something I want to do. But most of these decluttering things are things that I think I still want to do. But I'm just going to say, I know that in the next April, the rest of April, and all of May, pretty much, that I'm going to, have things planned already. And I'm just going to really have to stick to those things. So I'm going to look and see, maybe when in the summer, then I'll be able to do some more things. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's my plan for the rest of this cycle. And I'm going to look at those things and do some evaluating as this waning moon goes through its cycle and up to the next new moon, and really think about too, what I want to do. Do I want to add some of these things? Do I want to try to do this again? rework it? Is this really important, or is there something else I need to really focus on? And so I'll probably do some, just some intention setting uh, with some tarot cards or some Lenormand cards or something like that, and look at my intention and do some draws there and see what the cards have to say. But today I want to just have a time to talk about teas. I have in the past year, 2 years, been taking herbalism classes in various forms and learning a lot about herbs and a lot about the herbs that actually grow around me in this area that I can wild harvest or and use for specific things. And then things that in my life I feel like that I would like to have teas or herbal support for. And I bought several different kinds of dried herbs from different places to try them out as I'm going through the classes and learning about the different kinds of herbs and the different ways that we use herbs. And there are a few that I'm just, I keep coming back to and I really like. And I know that this is going to become kind of part of my long-term apothecary. So I'm really starting to look at those, how I can maybe grow them myself if they grow here, if I can harvest them, if there's things that they grow in my backyard, things like that, or places that I can source them and get really good either seeds or plants that I can plant here. And some of those are ones that I like to use and make tea from. And now you can use, I personally drink the tea. I usually make a tea when I usually make an herbal tea, but I mix some green tea with it because I like to have that green tea. And green tea is really good for you. So I put some green tea in and then I'll mix it with a few herbs, maybe two or three different herbs that I want support for at this time. But ones that I think that I'm going to recommend for you right now, if you're kind of getting into herbs and getting into herbal teas or medicine, and you don't have to drink these, you can use them for anything. You can use them for cleaning, you can use them for sprays, you can use them for incense, just dried. If you just have the dried herb, you can use them for incense. If you have them that in your yard that you can wild harvest like dandelion flowers, you can just dry them and make your own incense with them. But if you're going to use them for a specific tea that you're going to ingest, you really need to be careful, first of all, that anything that you ingest, anything that comes into contact, that you're going to either come in contact with your skin, you're going to use topically, anything that, and the other people that are around you, because and the other people that are in your household, your pets, things like that, you want to make sure that it's nothing dangerous for them. But these are three that, I feel like are pretty safe. But again, use them, do your own research and make sure that when you source them, that you source them somewhere that you know that you're getting good herb quality herbs like mountain rose herbs, or a place we have a health food store in the town where I live, and they sell just really good organic food grade herbs. And so I get a lot of my tea herbs from there without having to have them shipped. And a lot of them are locally harvested. And so I know that I can get them there as well. And the teas, we have a really good tea shop. And so I get a lot of my actual like green teas from those places. And so I know where it comes from. I can talk to them about the teas. And so it's really good. So, look around for those places because there's a wide range. You can find places that will sell them, hopefully near you, or close enough that you can get to maybe once in a while, or you can order them online from reputable dealers. And there's lots of places now that do that and are very transparent about where their herbs come from, which is great. They either grow them and you can see it, where they grow them, or they, let you know where they've been grown, like mountain rose herbs does that. So these are ones that I think are really good spring cleaning herbs. And the first one is nettle. And nettle, if you know anything about nettle, nettle is a very prickly plant. It's very, it grows and grows and grows and grows, but it's very rich and it's very full of vitamins and minerals and immune support and things that is just great for spring and spring cleansing. So I make nettle tea, and you can use it for lots of different things. You can make an old tea, you can use it just to make, topically, you can make a tincture that you can put in another drink. You can use it and make a spray. Would make a great spray, just some dried nettle, or if you have nettle that grows around you that you know that you can safely source, then you can do that and dry it yourself and make your own incense or sprays, or things like that. But just again, be very careful. I buy my nettle I get at the nettle I have, I think, is from Mountain Rose Herbs. But it's great. It takes, a while to kind of it's very bitter, but it's very good for you and it's very cleansing. And so if you can get it, that's why I like mixing with green teas and mixing it with something else, usually with a tea that I like the taste of. And a lot of times I use honey. I use local honey. We go to the farmer's market and I use local honey from the beekeepers around here. You can also, sweeten it with whatever sweetener that you like to use. You can use it with milk if you are drink milk. You can use it with oat milk. That's one of my favorites to mix it with oat milk as well, because it just kind of gives a little bit of sweetness and takes the kind of that bitter edge off. But the bitterness is really good for you. It's bitter herbs and things like that. They're really good for you. Anything that's like related to that, like spinach or kale or things that that you get from the grocery store, they're really good for you, and so they're really good to make into teas. So that is one thing that I recommend for a spring. If you want a spring tea, you can also use dandelion. There's lots of dried dandelion products that you can get. You can get the leaf that's dried. You can get the root that's dried, which is really good for you. And the leaf is really good for you as well. It's got a lot of vitamins. It's very cleansing. It's very clearing. It's very kind of uplifting. So you can use it not just for medicinal purposes, but you can use it because it's very uplifting. It's very sunny and bright. And you can use the flowers that are dried, or the flowers, out in, if you have them in your yard and you're very, you want to, pick some, harvest some carefully when they're in bloom and then dry them, and you can have them just dried and you can use them for incense. You can use them to decorate a candle, lots of different ways you can do it. But my favorite is roasted dandelion root. And it's really good. It's really tasty. It's got that kind of roasted flavor. This is one I really like to mix with a green tea and mix with a honey or an oat milk, and it makes just this kind of almost coffee-like drink. And it's really good and it's really cleansing in the spring, especially those spring days where it's spring and everything is gorgeous outside, but it's pouring down rain, or it's really still kind of really cold. And so I really like the dandelion root because gives you that kind of comforting feeling and comforting aroma, but it's still very spring-like because it's the dandelion. So those are two that I like to use. And again, if you don't want to use them in a tea and you don't want to drink them, use them for, make a tea and use it as a spray. Make a tea and water your plants with it. Make a tea and use it in a bath. Just make sure again that you test it on your skin, that you're not anything that you're allergic to, because people can be very sensitive to things and allergic to some of these different things. So those are two that I like to use in the spring. And another one that you can get dried is plantain. And plantain is something that grows just like dandelion. grows in my backyard just profusely during the spring and summer. And I will like the dandelion, I will get the dandelion flowers and dry some, and some of the leaves and dry some. And then I'll get some of the plantain leaves and dry some. And I do drink plantain, but I usually mix it with something else. I usually will mix it with something else that I'm working with. But plantain is great because it's it's an antibacterial. It's good for wounds. And so I like to make it, and you can make, the tea, keep it in the refrigerator and spray it like if you get a bug bite, or you get just kind of a scrape or something like that, and you can use it on that, and it's really good just to kind of soothe your skin. But again, be very, very careful, work with it very gently. Herbs, I think, are something that you get to know very gently, that you go into it. It took me a long time before I would actually drink a tea, like a nettle tea. I mean, it took a long time. It took just some years of studying, of learning about the herbs, of talking to other herbalists, talking to other people who are studying herbs, and before I really felt comfortable ingesting something. And then, I'm very careful if I'm working with anything new, that I test it out, that I make sure that it's nothing that I'm allergic to, or anything that's, poisonous, that to, dogs or cats, or, wildlife, or things like that. The great thing about herbs is most of the time they come from outdoors. They come from the things that you walk on, that you walk out in nature. And, sometimes you may have, be allergic to some of these things. And so if you are, have allergies, or, know things that are, um, that you're sensitive to, just be very careful. And it is part of making that spiritual connection to the herb. And I think that is a lot of it, because so many people, you'll just see, just pills, things that you can take, take this pill of, dandelion root, powdered dandelion root, and it'll, cure this and this and this. And that's not really the point. Herbal medicine is just like plantain. Plantain used to be used, and people would just chew it up and put it, they got a wound in the wild. They would chew it up, put it on the wound, and it would help, with the wound, something that was, kind of minor. But again, it was something that, though, that they had learned, and that they learned from their people, their ancestors, the healers, and things like that. So I think that you being that cautious, and being that careful, and having the same kind of relationships with the herbs, because I feel like that those three I have worked with for a long time. I've studied in the wild, I've studied dried, I have, done, my own kind of experiments with. I've looked at them, made different kinds of preparations with them, and tested them out, myself. And now I, would recommend them to other people, as if I knew, like, to my family, I might say, this might be good for you if you're having this problem, or this might be good for you if, something like that. But there's only a few of those herbs that I would really recommend, because I'm not an herbalist yet. And so, but I am working on it, and I'm working on being able to do that, because that is one thing that I would like to be able to do, is say, if my son, gets a cold, and I know to give him, I have elderberries, dried elderberries. And so I just make an elderberry tea and say, drink this, and, put some honey in it. And because I feel like the honey is something that is really good. It's antibacterial, and it's, really good for you in, lots of different ways. And so, I feel okay about giving that to my family. And so, but again, and some people don't want to use honey, because they feel like that if that they're vegan, and honey is an animal product, and you don't want to use honey. There's lots of other things that you can use instead, that you feel good about. And that is one of the big things, is that you have this connection to it. I feel this connection because my grandparents had bees when I was growing up, and I grew up on fresh honey, off the honeycomb, and I and fresh vegetables and things out of the garden. And so I feel like that now, I'm kind of going back and making that connection again, making the connection with the bees and with the honey and with the fresh vegetables and the herbs and things like that. And my grandparents both, had their home remedies of things that they would tell us. If we got a bug bite, you would slice up a potato and put the potato on the bug bite, or a bee sting, or things like that. And so they had their own things that they got from their ancestor healers, and they, wouldn't call it that now, but or they wouldn't have really said that it was healing, but it was, something that was just that was part of them that they passed on to us. And now I feel like I'm passing it on, to and learning about it to myself and making that connection. So it is a very spiritual thing. And I think there's a big difference about, just going in and finding, a supplement off the shelf that they say, oh, this, will cure everything, and doing the research yourself and getting close to those herbs, and getting to the place where you feel good about wanting to make teas and wanting to use herbs as remedies for things. And now whenever I feel like I'm getting sick, the first thing I do is take some herbal, do some herbal teas, whatever I feel like that I've learned about and have the relationship. And usually it's elderberry, because it's just, it makes me feel better. So, and those kinds of things, you have to really look at how you feel, and different herbs react differently to different people. So it's again that, making your connection with the earth, making your connection with the herbs, making your connection with what that herb has to offer and the history of that herb, and knowing about it and knowing what it does and knowing why people used it in the past and knowing those histories. And I feel like that there's several herbs now that I know that about, and I feel good about. So those are three that if you want to start out with, I think they're really good ones for you to start out with. So again, nettle, dandelion, and plantain. And again, you don't have to ingest these. You don't have to put them on your skin. You can use them in so many different ways. You can get cards. You can get I have lots of um, oracle cards that have herbs and spices and things on them. And you can look at ones that you already use. Maybe you already use cinnamon, or you already use thyme, or garlic, or things like that. And they're all magical herbs that have been used for many years. And you know that you like them. You use them. Make a recipe. Find something that you can use it in, and use it that way. Lots of people put cinnamon in their coffee. Put thyme in, a stew, or use garlic. I mean, garlic is, it's so good for you. And you can just roast garlic and make it into like a spread. Put it on, fresh vegetables, something like that. So there's lots of ways for you to do it if you don't feel comfortable going into herbs that you're not really sure about. And so take your time and start with something that and then you can move on to others. But if you want to, think about these kind of spring ones, and you want to bring that energy in some way, find a picture, find it growing wild and take a picture of it. Find the oracle cards. There's lots of oracle cards out there, and there's even the Herb Crafters Tarot that has tarot cards, and they all have different herbs and spices on them, and so you can use those and connect that way. And that's the great thing about magic, that you can use the herbs and use all the things around you, all your senses, all your resources that you have, and make that connection in the way that makes sense to you. And, if I were doing this video a few years ago, I would not have recommended any of these because I didn't know about them. I have not studied them. I didn't know them well enough to be comfortable enough with them. But now I am, and now I do. And so I've made that connection. And so, wherever you are right now, start where you are and move forward with the herbs that you want to work with. All right. I will see you again tomorrow or our next day in the challenge.